You know, the best thing about colonialism is the presence of a villain. Someone to blame for misfortunes. But when we became independent in 1947, we lost that villain. The world was a whole new arena and we were on our own feet. But what inspires people? What gives people the hope to dare independence? What do you think? Isn't it all about stories? Those of dreamers, visionaries, and achievers who thrived despite all struggles. I firmly believe so. Hi, I am Apsara, and today I will be your storyteller. Our story starts in 1909, several decades before all of us were born. This was a time when opportunities were scarce and the Indians lived like second-class citizens in their own country. If you were born here, odds are that you will either die young or live slaved.
Congratulations, it's a boy.
Call Jehangir. He is a father now.
Look at me, my boy. Look at me. Look who's here.
So, have you and Marine thought of any name?
And so, Homi Jehangir Bhabha was born luckily in a wealthy family of Parsis. As a close-knit community, growing up, he already had powerful contacts. A successful enterprise in Bombay was not a difficulty. But Bhabha had something different. He loved science. Years passed and Bhabha lived a comfortable childhood. A meritorious student, he is still remembered on the honors board of Cathedral and John Cannon School. During these years, he never felt anything lacking and was very happy with his education. This was in sharp contrast to what most Indian children of the time felt. Life took a turn when he cleared his schooling and a dilemma struck him. He was not satisfied with his college. He felt he wanted more.
Father, I don't want to continue in my college.
But why, son?
I feel whatever they teach. I had already known that for 2 years. The mediocrity kills me.
But, son, this is one of the best institutes in Bombay. What would you have me rather do?
I want to learn more. I'm thinking of going to London.
Listen, son. I was always able to provide for a comfortable living for you here. But this is simply not possible for me.
Luckily for Bhabha, his uncle Sir Dorabji Tata agreed to fund his education in Cambridge University. But there was a catch. He was admitted for an engineering degree and was thus expected to join the Tata Steels after his completion. And like youth even today, he discovered his true passion during this engineering degree. In a letter written to his father, Bhabha pleaded,
Father, I know these years have not been any easier on you than they have been on me. I know Kaka Dorab had sponsored my education, but the obligation to work for him chokes me. This is not what I love. All my passion arouses for mathematics and the natural sciences. The very nature of the scientific inquiry calls me. I cannot be hooked to some mediocre factory job. I want to live my dreams. I want to be a scientist. Please don't let my talents be wasted.
being a parent in that time was no easier than being a child. By the standards of the time, Jehangir had provided for his son very generously then, but he was no viceroy. He had obligations. But reading his son's pleading letter, Jehangir knew something had to be done. He had seen his son's talents and knew he was meant for greatness. The father had to put his trust in his son.
Homi, I'll allow you to shift your branch on only one condition.
What is it, father?
Listen, son. You must first clear your engineering with first class. Only then will you pursue your further studies.
Bhabha passed his engineering with first class and got enrolled for his mathematics degree. He had worked hard, and now it was time for him to live his dreams. The year was 1930. While the world would soon see the Great Depression and the rise of Nazis, this was the best period of Bhabha's life. In graduate school, he would meet his mentor and role model Paul Dirac. He would complete his mathematics degree with honors and enroll for a PhD in nuclear physics. He would win scholarships and work with the greatest minds of the era like Bohr and Hitler. His work would become so important that Bhabha's scattering would soon feature in textbooks. But all good times come to an end. The year was 1939. Bhabha was on his annual holidays in India when the war in Europe started. While he was here, all his life's work was there. He had to make a decision now.
I regret to inform you that I won't be able to join Cambridge University anytime soon, owing to the ongoing adversities all over the globe. A good friend of mine, J.R.D. Tata, has offered me a special readership in theoretical sciences in the Department of Physics at Indian Institute of Science. It was indeed a tough decision, but I have made up my mind. Take care and keep contributing to science in the best way possible. Yours truly, Homi Jehangir Bhabha.
Up till this point, Bhabha was just another boy in the brain drain. The very reason he had left India was the mediocrity of Indian institutions. This time, however, the whole nation was beaming with passions, and it was only a matter of time that the people had realized their potential. His unexpected return to the homeland was indeed destined. Just as Gandhi left and returned a Mahatma, there was something changed about this man.
I recognize my moral duty towards the nation. At the moment, there is no big school of research in the fundamental problems of physics, both theoretical and experimental. There are, however, scattered all over India competent workers who are not doing as good work as they would do if brought together in one place under proper direction. I consider this as my duty to contribute towards India's progress.
He was no more the shy thinker. He had become an open advocate. His strong contentions found resonance among leaders like Pandit Nehru, who felt that if India were to become independent, stronger institutions were needed. Not only were his ideas finding political support, he also had the financial backing of his Parsi kin. His first big success was the establishment of TIFR in 1945.
It has been a great pleasure to me and something like an exhilarating experience to come here from time to time to see the growth in our scientific work, whether on the other side of Trombay or here or some other part of India. And they take me out of the normal routine in which I live. So I am grateful to Dr. Bhabha for this opportunity given to me to come here to associate myself with this ceremony and to to come here to associate myself with this ceremony and to meet many eminent people. Now, if I am supposed to inaugurate the Tata Institute of Fundamental Research or to declare this open formally, I do so with great pleasure.
But Bhabha did not let himself lose sight of the bigger problem with these successes. As a forerunner, he knew that it takes more than bricks and mortar to create a scientific ethos.
A scientific institution has to be grown like a tree. Its growth, in terms of quality and achievement, can only be accelerated to a limited extent. This is a field in which a large number of mediocre or second rate workers cannot make up for a few outstanding ones.
Indeed, the times of accepting mediocrity were coming to an end. A new, demanding era was about to dawn now. Brace up. We are now entering the next chapter of our story.
Long years ago, we made a tryst with destiny. And now the time comes when we shall redeem our pledge. Not wholly or in full measure, but very substantially. At the stroke of the midnight hour, when the world sleeps, India will awake to life and freedom.
You must have several questions now. Who is this woman? Why is she telling us all this? Why does it matter? Well, remember what I said about stories? Bhabha was a man with unparalleled vision for Indian science. Okay, that should be clear by now. But he was more. He wasn't just a scientist. In the coming years, he evolved into a statesman who knew what science could do.
Nehruji, all my life I have been a devotee of science. Science has taught me a lot. Science has made me who I am today. I have collected these flowers of achievements so that my motherland will be fragrant out of them. Our sovereign nation must also acknowledge the power of nuclear energy. Looking at our socio-economic status, India needs to have a reliable and powerful resource of energy. If we start working on it now itself, in a few years, India will be a nuclear power, perhaps the youngest one.
Bhabha saw the dream of India as a nuclear power. For the diplomats in Nehru's council, however, this was a serious hurdle. After all, the new nation was doing well in international affairs. Our leaders had quickly taken up the mantle of world leaders. We had pledged ourselves to championing global peace. Then why waste precious resources on something so controversial? Wasn't everything already good? Bhabha argued diplomacy was hollow without real power. Everything that seems good now is only superficial. Nehru needed to decide here.
I agree with you, Dr. Bhabha. I'm going to pass the Atomic Energy Act, needed to create an Atomic Energy Commission. The Commission will provide for the development and control of atomic energy and purposes connected therewith. We will be primarily focusing on harnessing nuclear energy and not nuclear weapons, which are by birth the symbol of evil. Of course, if we are compelled as a nation to use it for other purposes, possibly no pious sentiments of any of us will stop the nation from using it that way.
In 1948, AEC was set up by the Government of India. Dr. Bhabha was appointed as the director of Indian Nuclear Program by Pandit Nehru. India began to embark on this journey to explore nuclear energy. But internationally, we faced a lot of challenges. Developed nations often tried to curb India's limbs through various schemes such as the Bharuch Plan.
Dr. Bhabha, it has become increasingly difficult for us to import uranium from other countries. Should we give in to their demands? What are we going to do about it?
Panditji, I agree that we have only 5 lakh tons of uranium in our country. But we do have enough thorium. Those who are trying to drag us do not realize India's 3-stage nuclear program. The first generation of atomic power stations based on natural uranium will only be used to start off an atomic power program. After that, the program will be self-catalyzing. Plutonium produced by the first generation power stations will be used in a second generation of power stations designed to produce electric power and convert thorium into uranium-233. This will, in turn, be an intermediate step for the breeder power stations of the third generation, all of which would produce more uranium-233 than they burn in the course of producing power.
This new approach towards nuclear energy was revolutionizing. It gave Indian program a unique flavor and self-reliance. Now that I think about it, Bhabha created that environment of excellence and originality that he himself once missed as a student in India. Bhabha's vast contributions to the field of science couldn't go unnoticed in the eyes of the United Nations. He was therefore elected the president of the first International Conference on Peaceful Uses of Atomic Energy.
Ladies and gentlemen, we gather here today to mark a historic moment. A few decades ago, the earth shrieked with terror whenever man wanted more energy. Smokes from factories choked the rich and the poor alike. Today, however, we look at the future with hope. Nuclear energy is a boon that we must use to get rid of the darkness. While some nations are trying to restrict it to themselves, its true potential can only be realized in developing countries who can develop better with its use. The world must thrive for its peaceful uses and keep petty selfishness aside. Let us all take a pledge to make this world a better place.
The story of Bhabha is not some biographical anecdote. It is indeed a story of heroic resolve that inspires beyond times. The things we pride ourselves with, it is a part of that heritage. His is a story of unquestionable faith in the very idea of India. Discarding opportunities that were knocking his door, he chose to follow a path that has led us to where we all are today. While he died tragically in a plane crash, like a true leader, he had created a generation of scientists who would lead us into a new age. And of course, I was there too.
Today, as a nation, we are taking a step forward in making India self-reliant. Today, we set up India's first nuclear reactor, Apsara, here at Trombay. This comes as a culmination of years of hard work and planning. Many of us have sacrificed the luxuries of life in our quest for truth. When we would be long gone, she would live on to tell our tale.